Welcome to the Airbnb Roadmap, the podcast designed to navigate you through the entire journey of short-term rental success. Whether you're just starting out or ready to take your hosting game to the next level. My husband and I became super hosts within just months of launching our first Airbnb and have proudly kept that title ever since. With over 350 reviews and an overall 4.95 star ratings, we picked up a hack or two I'm excited to share with you. In each episode, I break down the strategies, insights, and industry secrets that set profitable short-term rentals apart. From choosing the right property, understanding local regulations, and obtaining your listing to go beyond just the basics. I'm here to share everything you need to succeed. So if you're ready to map out your path to Airbnb success and unlock the full potential of short-term rentals, join me on the Airbnb Roadmap. Your journey starts here. Hey, I'm Brittany Wenninger from Porch Realty, powered by Real Broker LLC, and welcome back to another episode of the Airbnb Roadmap podcast. Don't know if you could tell, but I have a very stuffed up nose. I am getting a little bit of a cold, and when baby Melanie went into daycare, I knew that she was going to get sick. Like, I knew it. Like, everyone told me, hey, once she goes into daycare, like, RIP, like, she's going to get sick. Well, I never thought about myself because I don't ever really get sick. And I was like, oh, if Melanie's sick, I probably won't be sick because she is my child, right? And like, my mom never really got sick from me, so I was like, I'm not gonna get sick from Melanie. Wrong. Like, so wrong. It was disgusting. I would say about 2 months ago, I had a really bad fever, and it only lasted 24 hours, thank God, but I definitely got that from Melanie. Now she has a runny nose, stuffed up nose, congestion, and now I have it. And I'm like, this is awesome. Now, am I going to stop kissing her? Absolutely not. But it still really sucks because, like, this is not like me. So bear with me if I sound nasally. I'm sorry. Like, you can go to a whole different episode and I probably won't sound this bad. But if you're going to stick around this episode, hey, good for you. Because this episode isn't about education once again. I'm going to probably, beginning of 2026, get really back into the education part and have a lot more guest speakers and people on my podcast. But for now, it's kind of like a reflection because we did hit the 1 year mark, which was very exciting. I should have done something big, but honestly, I'm like drowning in chaos right now. I do have a really good plan up my sleeve about kind of like a surprise guest. I have a surprise guest up my sleeve, trying to make it happen. But till then, it's one of those things I have to like ease my way to get this guest on. So I'm working on it. So hopefully that person will come on sooner than later. But again, I'm working on it. Anyways, I have been in a really interesting headspace where my standards and expectations have definitely gone up. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I follow a lot of top producers. I learn constantly from students that have gone to a like really high-end course, the academy. I talk to coaches regularly, and all of that exposure is amazing. Don't get me wrong. It's 100% amazing. But it also messes with your perspective if you're not careful. When you're surrounded by high-level conversations, it's easy to feel like everything needs to be elevated, updated, optimized, all of that shenanigans. And I've had to remind myself that at the end of the day, an Airbnb is still a place that someone is staying at. Yes, it can be a fun experience, and yes, it can be memorable, and that's how you get repeat people. But you can also just simplify it and make sure that's clean, comfortable, and exactly what the guest expectations are. And that's more than enough. I just had a conversation with a client, and he was under contract for a existing Airbnb. Everything was great, except he went through the inspection and there was mold. There was a lot of woodpecker holes on the side of the building, and just everything was not maintained whatsoever. But yet, on Airbnb and Verbo, he has a lot of amazing reviews and he is earning a lot of money. When he told me that, it kind of put myself back into realization of like, there's a lot of like, I don't want to say crappy, but there's a lot of mediocre Airbnbs out there that are performing very well. And they're performing very well because the place is clean, comfortable, and exactly what the guests expected. Not a lot of guests are scrolling on Instagram and seeing all the top designers and what they are doing to their Airbnbs. Not a lot of guests are seeing all the, top performing Airbnbs around. They are just looking at your area and your market and seeing which one best suits their needs. And it doesn't have to be this extravagant, golf simulator, movie theater, and all that stuff. It just needs to match what they are looking for. And sometimes that might be price related. And sometimes that might be that crazy fun experience that you just went balls to the walls with. And I catch myself scrolling and thinking that all of our existing and future Airbnbs need to have those luxury curtains, maybe a cowboy tub, maybe a hot tub, or just like that big wow factor to compete. And then I pause and ask myself, what actually matters? Does my market even support that? Because a lot of the guests aren't comparing your place to someone else's virtual Airbnb or to someone else's viral Airbnb. They're comparing it with a hotel or comparing it with another Airbnb in the township. They want good sleep, a clean bathroom, working amenities, and wow, no surprises, which is honestly like kind of difficult nowadays because photos really make your Airbnb just the next level up. And if you go into the Airbnb and it's not like that, then that's a surprise. Sometimes doing the basics really well outperform all the extras, especially once you factor in the cost, the maintenance, and how long it takes to actually see a return on those upgrades. One of the items that I am still baffled about is that when I go on Instagram, I see a lot of the top performers have like a little tiny like kids tent with a stuffed deer and not like actually stuffed deer, like, because that would be really weird, like a stuffed animal that's a deer. They have the fireplace, like the mini fireplace, and it's all staged very nicely for the photos. That makes sense, right? But is that really set up every single time a guest checks in? Does the cleaner actually take the time to reset that whole scene? I respect my cleaners so much, and I would never expect them to do that because it has so much time to set that whole like scenery up every single time. And then, what if you're missing a piece? What if one of the kids brings that deer all the way up to his bedroom and then they have to find it? I see that like set up all the time, and I'm still very confused on how that is actually maintained. So that mindset shift has come largely just from learning from others. And truthfully, it comes from this podcast as well, just because I am always thinking about short-term rentals and Airbnbs and my business and so on and so forth. And by talking to all of these people, have 100% raised my standards. But it's also taught me that not every property is meant to be a destination stay. Some Airbnbs are just meant to quietly perform, constantly book, and just not really require consistent attention. And honestly, those are often properties that bring the most peace, not to the house, but honestly to you. Not everything needs to be Instagram famous to be successful. And that is something I am learning. Our last Airbnb, number 4 and 5, is 100% Instagram famous property. I'm still very happy that we did it that way, because one of our properties need to be like that crazy Airbnb, and that is the one that we just did. And I'm very happy about it. Now, our future Airbnbs, do they have to be like that? Absolutely not. And again, thinking it back, it doesn't have to be a viral property to perform. Now, going back to what I have learned and what I kind of wish I did differently from the start, not knowing that we're going to scale this much and this fast, is in the early stages, guest communication was always at the top of the list. Always. I set up automated messages from the beginning, and honestly, it just made everything very, very smooth. It was very professional, and guests loved it. But where I fell short was on the back end. And you know what? It's something so simple. And learn from me, please. I didn't keep track of the utility companies that we use, the account numbers, or even the logins that I should have. At the time, I felt like it was just like a very small detail until it wasn't. When something goes wrong after hours of just like you're just juggling multiple properties, not having that information in one place adds so much stress and could honestly completely be avoided. We have 5 properties now, and keeping track of 5 internet companies with the account numbers, 5 electric companies, 5 gas companies like LP tanks, like all of that stuff, it gets very, very confusing, especially knowing how much all the utilities are. And yes, like we see the price when it comes through on our bank transactions, but we didn't know, like, for example, our internet. One of the properties was $85, but then the other one was $55, not that far from each other. And I was like, why is there so much difference? When I called, they're like, what's the account numbers? I'm like, yeah, couldn't tell you. And then they're like, oh, what's the 4-digit PIN? I'm like, oh, couldn't tell you that one either. Once I finally found out, like literally 45 minutes later of trying to like get verified, I then found out that we were overpaying for one of them, because at that time, that was the best deal. Well, there's a really good deal going on right now, and we could save $30 a month. Now, if I was on top of it and knew all the utilities and, like just had all that for information in front of me, I could have done that a long time ago. So that 100% could have been avoided. The lack of back-end organization is actually what started to change my perspective on property managers. I used to be pretty against them, not gonna lie. I felt that if you hired a property management company, you were going to give up too much control and just cutting into your profits, which honestly, you do. And while I still think that self-managing is one of the best ways to truly learn the business and keep on learning the business, I completely understand why people are actually hiring property managers. And that goal is, honestly, it all depends on the investor's goal. Do they want to sit back and just collect? Or do they want to have more money and run all of their Airbnbs? As our family grows, baby Melanie is now crawling and all that stuff, and I really want to spend more time with her and maybe like teach her how to swim, or I don't know. I have found a new respect for property managers. Am I saying that we're going to have a property manager for our properties? Absolutely not. I've already done all the hard work and automated everything, and I have such a great flow that I only spend like 15, 20 minutes a week managing the properties. Like, I don't spend that much time because of all of my systems. But I can see someone that doesn't want to start the whole crazy process. I can see them wanting a property manager, and then they just sit back and collect and then spend the family time that they want and deserve. So this episode is literally just about the mindset and kind of where I'm at right now with realizing that not everything has to be Instagrammable at all. And my expectations and standards went crazy high, especially with the last property. And I feel like that I have to just lower them a little bit because people don't realize that, because guests aren't looking at what you're looking at on Instagram, and those are those viral Airbnbs. They don't see that. All they see is your property versus a hotel, or your property versus an Airbnb nearby. And if you can compete with the Airbnb nearby, 100%. You always want to be a one step over or like above the other Airbnbs. But that doesn't mean that you need to have a golf simulator, a cowboy tub, a hot tub, a jacuzzi. Like, you don't need all of this stuff. Now, will it look amazing on Instagram? Hell yeah, it would. Are you excited to show all your friends that Airbnb? Hell yeah, you would. But at the end of the day, you have to think about the ROI. Does that hot tub make sense in your market? Maybe not. In Wisconsin, it probably does, but it also adds a lot of maintenance, and that's a whole nother episode. But does that golf simulator in the garage, how much does that cost? Is it worth the ROI? Will it increase the nightly stay? And will guests actually appreciate that? Because if you are not even like in a golf community, people might not even appreciate that. So my expectations and my standards need to go a little bit lower. Needs to chill out a little bit because, that's just how I am. And then also my expectations with property management. Used to be very against it, and now I'm kind of like, hey, might not be a bad gig, like sit back, collect the money. Yeah, you're not getting as much money, but if Airbnb is just a side gig for you, then you probably don't want to spend that much time, especially with the setup. Setting all of it up, that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. Thankfully, I've already been there. I've already done all that stuff. And if you want to learn how to do it, then there's a crazy deal in January that's coming up. Dude, that was a really solid plug. That was a smooth transition. If you want early bird access, let me know. But it's literally I think it'll be less than 400 now. It was less than 500. Now I think it's going to be less than 400. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, setting up all of the systems probably takes about a solid day or two. And then you can just run it very smooth. And if you just have one, you're probably just going to spend about like 10, 15 minutes a week managing your properties. If you have two, it's probably going to be 15 or 20. If you have 3+, it's probably going to be just about 20 to 30 minutes a week managing your properties if you do the systems that I have been doing for 4 years. So if you're interested, buy the course. It's not that much money. You literally just will get so much information from that. That's kind of ridiculous, because after talking to the coaches and some of my past clients, they have paid thousands and thousands of dollars for something that is literally in my course. And the reason why I don't charge thousands and thousands of dollars is because I believe that you should probably use that money to actually buy your very first Airbnb and not use it for education. I don't think education should be price gouged, and it should just be cheap, because you're growing. Everyone should grow in life, right? So anyways, I'm blabbering. So yeah. Also, if you want to buy a Airbnb retreat, I have a couple listed in La Crosse, Wisconsin. They are absolutely amazing. Still for sale. Come through or just ask me for information on that, and I would love to give it to you, because
they're pretty cool. And it's turnkey and instant cash flow. So not that bad, right? Right. But till then, I will talk to you next week.
Thanks for joining me on the Airbnb Roadmap. If you're loving these episodes and want to keep the conversation going, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone who's ready to dive into the world of short-term rentals. Got a question or topic you would love to hear about? Reach out. This podcast is all about learning and growing together. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the Airbnb Roadmap Podcast, for more tips, tricks, and behind-the-scene insights. Until next time, here's to turning your short-term rental dreams into thriving realities. I'll see you back here soon.